All the good movies, they don't stop coming. So Crazy Rich Asians is directed by John M. Chu and stars Constance Wu as Rachel, who after spending a decent amount of time with her boyfriend Nick is invited back to his home country of Singapore to meet his family. However, it turns out that his family is actually a very rich family deep within the origins of Singapore itself, and this leads her to be a bit of a fish out of water in this entire city and family as she tries and fits in and tries to continue on as this guy's girlfriend, while she is completely out of her depth. Now, I was very excited about this movie going into it because I just heard so many good things. This movie came out a couple of weeks ago in the US, and it just has got such good word of mouth coming out of the US, and I was a little bit worried because I didn't think this movie was going to get released over here, but luckily it is, and I got my own little early screening last night for the movie, and I was very excited going in, and this movie did not disappoint me. I love this film. I think it's so good, so let's dive into it. First off, Constance Wu is fantastic in this film. She is ever so charming and definitely charismatic enough to carry this film. I think she was just really fun. She was a really nice presence, you know. She was a good actress, she was funny, she had the emotion when she needed it, and she just had the strength to carry this movie on her shoulders. I mean, she is the main protagonist of this film, and she was just able to deliver it, and I think she was really good in this movie. Like I said, very charming, very charismatic. I can't wait to see what she does after this, because as a point I'll get onto later in this review, this movie is going to do a lot for a lot of people, and I really hope it does for Constance Wu because she's really good here. Make sure you see this movie purely just for her because I think she's truly outstanding. Also, Henry Golding plays her boyfriend Nick in this movie, and he was fantastic. This is his first feature film, this is his first acting role, and he was outstanding in this movie. I was very impressed by his range and his acting ability overall. I think he was a very good choice. You know, he just has this very nice likability, this very nice presence to him, and I kind of thought at first I wasn't quite sure what route they were going to go down with this character. I thought maybe they were going to take him down more of a negative route, but they didn't. He actually went a lot more of a positive arc throughout this film, and he really was up to the task for that, and he just really, without that performance, I don't think that turn and that arc would have worked as well as it did. And obviously, I'm not going to say what that is for spoilers, but there is a particular arc for his character, and I don't think it would have worked as well without Henry Golding in that role. The whole cast in this film is top-notch. I mean, there are so many great legends in this film. Michelle Yeoh is a true acting legend, and she was once again fantastic in this movie. Also, Awkwafina, who you would have seen a lot recently, especially in Ocean's 8, she was phenomenal in this movie as well. Very, very funny. Definitely had a great sense of humour in this film and added a lot of light for when it needed it. And also Ken Jeong, who of course is a very funny man. He was also hilarious in this film. He really had me laughing a lot of the time throughout this film. But the whole cast did all their jobs perfectly, and I think that they really helped deliver this film, and its cast overall just did such a good job here. Speaking of the comedy though, this movie is very, very funny. I was laughing all the way through. I think this movie just really wanted to deliver the comedy, and it definitely did. This film's comedy is definitely gut-punching. It's really funny. There's nothing, you know, like in comparison to say The Happy Time Murders, which was my last review, where that movie really went for these really raunchy jokes. This movie doesn't do that. This movie purely focuses on just light-hearted humour, and I think that works a lot more because this movie has a lot more relatable humour. This movie has humour that you can actually relate to and actually see in everyday life, and I think that's a lot more effective than just going for these really raunchy, you know, cringy jokes that sometimes don't work. This movie, I think all the jokes landed, and that's very impressive. And similarly to what I said about Nick's character, this movie goes in so many unexpected directions. This movie just, so many times I was thinking, oh, okay, I know where this movie's going, I know what direction this is going to take, I know where this is going to end up. But then the movie would completely just throw a curveball, and it would go in a completely different direction. And again, I have to give props to the writers there, because this film definitely takes unexpected turns, and that is something I didn't expect going into this movie. You know, you go into this film, you know, and you kind of think it's going to be a bit more simple, but this movie actually has a lot more layers to it, and I think, again, that's a very impressive font for this film itself. And also, of course, this movie being called Crazy Rich Asians, it does take place in Singapore, in Asia, and it was really refreshing to be in Asia. Obviously, a lot of big Hollywood films, you know, they take place in America or they'll take place in Europe. Very rarely do we see a big Hollywood action, or it's not even an action movie, but very rarely will we see a big Hollywood picture take place in Asia, and it was very refreshing to see that. There's so many exotic locations, and there's a particular scene where we are going through like a Singapore food market. I love that scene. It was really good to embrace the culture. It was really good to see how they were all living throughout this situation. It was just really refreshing, something very different to the eyes, especially as someone like me who obviously watches a lot of movies. It was very nice to see something different and something refreshing for the eyes. Now, this movie is going to do a lot for Asian cast casts in Hollywood. Obviously, this film, I think, is very similar in that sense to Black Panther earlier this year. Obviously, this film, I think, to Asian actors is what Black Panther was to African American actors in Hollywood. This film is going to do a good job with helping that diversity and helping Asian actors become more relevant and more, superior throughout Hollywood movies. And I think you're going to see a lot more of these actors. Like I said, I'd love to see Constance Wu get a lot more work after this movie. Henry Golding definitely deserves more work after this movie. And I feel like you are going to see a lot of these actors, and also just more Asian actors in general, getting more roles here. And also I think when you combine this with Searching with John Cho as well, this movie and also Searching as well is going to do a lot for these actors, and I think that's really good. And like I said, it's just very comparable to what Black Panther did earlier this year with African American actors in Hollywood. It's going to do the exact same thing here with Crazy Rich Asians and Asian actors, and I think that's a great thing for this film. Overall, I loved Crazy Rich Asians. Like I said, I was worried I might have been a little bit underwhelmed or disappointed, but I really wasn't. This movie was actually better than I thought it was going to be due to its unexpected turns and due to the performances and also due to the comedy. This is just a really nice movie. You can go in there, have a good time, and it's not even one of those movies that's just like, oh, it was pleasant, because yes, it was pleasant, but it was also really good in its own right. And I think Crazy Rich Asians is hopefully going to get a big spotlight here in the UK. I really hope it does, because after everything it's done in the US and also after seeing the movie myself, this film needs to be seen. So if you see this movie and it comes out, I believe it's actually been pushed up to September. It was originally meant to come out in November here, but I believe it's actually coming out in September now, this month. So if you see this movie, if it's in your nearest cinema, in your nearest multiplex, go and see Crazy Rich Asians. So did you guys see Crazy Rich Asians? If you did, make sure you let me know all your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let's have a conversation about Crazy Rich Asians. And if you want to see more movie reviews from me, be sure to subscribe. And I hope to see you guys again in my next video.